Hey guys, this is Harold Rushton. I am an attorney and partner with the Rushton Law Firm here in Nashville, Tennessee, and I am your divorce lawyer for the next couple of minutes. So today I'm coming at you to talk to you about a topic that we get a lot of questions about, and it's something that's very important in your divorce action and something you need to think about. And primarily that question has, I guess, two subparts. That is, what is marital property and what is separate property in a divorce action in Tennessee? Well, basically, marital property is anything that was acquired during the marriage between the parties, and that could be your salary, that could be a home, a car, pretty much any tangible asset. Could be even be potentially intangible, but generally tangible assets such as investments, money, cars, trucks, boats, those types of things. So anything that you acquire or your spouse acquires during the marriage is going to be presumptively marital property. And so, as I said, that can encompass your salary. That can encompass savings accounts. That can encompass homes, cars, and things like that. So let's say, for instance, you save up and you buy a very large bass boat, and it takes you 5 years to save up the money from your salary, and then all of a sudden your spouse decides to file for divorce, and they claim that is marital property that's divisible in the divorce. And generally speaking, if that's the case, you save funds from your salary during the marriage and you acquired that bass boat during the marriage, then more than likely that is going to be a piece of marital property, presumptively marital property, that is subject to equitable distribution in a divorce. Now, I won't go into all the details about how equitable distribution is accomplished during a divorce, but just know that you could end up having to sell the bass boat and split, part of the equity in that boat with your spouse. You could end up having to buy your spouse out of their portion, whatever that portion turns out to be based on what the court finds in your case, or something to that effect. Or you could end up just trading out. Let's say your spouse has a car and that car is paid for and it was acquired during the marriage, and therefore you can claim an equitable distribution in that particular car, and you have the bass boat and you want to keep it, and that equity is somewhere near the same or close, then you might could trade out your spouse and you keep your bass boat and your spouse keeps the car, or something to that effect, without there being money passed between hands. Now, we also have to consider what is separate property in making a determination on how we're going to divide the assets of a marriage. So separate property is generally anything that you brought into the marriage that you own prior to marriage that has not been commingled with marital funds or marital assets. That could be a home. You could literally have bought a home prior to marriage, bring it into the marriage, and then the two of you live there, and then you get divorced, or you're in the process of getting a divorce, and that home could still be claimed as your separate property. Now, the important thing to know about that home is if you purchased it completely prior to marriage and there's never been a preservation and appreciation in value of that home by the other party, the spouse, then more than likely it may remain your presumptive separate property. Now, the only downside to separate property like that is if you bring something into the marriage, let's say a house, because that's pretty easy for us to discuss, and you bring the house into the marriage, and let's say you decide you're going to remodel the house, and your spouse pitches in and helps out with paying for part of that remodeling of the home. So let's say they also cover some of the payments during the marriage. Under those circumstances, you may have a situation where your spouse has contributed and to the preservation of the value in the home, and maybe even increase the value somewhat with that renovation of the home or their contribution thereof. So that could turn that presumptive separate property, the home, into potential marital property, at least the increase in value of that. Generally, it would be the increase in value of that property that would go up. And so that would be what you'd potentially be on the hook for dividing with your spouse. So let's say, for instance, when you married, the home was worth $500,000. Let's say, for instance, that you decided to remodel the living room and a couple of bathrooms and put a deck on the back of the house, and your spouse assisted with financing that remodel work. And let's say after the remodel, when you get ready to get divorced, the house is now worth $750,000. So now you're in a situation where the spouse may be able to claim that because of their contribution and in the appreciation in value, the increase in value, that property is worth more, and therefore they may claim a portion of that increase in value as their potential equitable distribution or a portion thereof that they believe that they are now entitled to. So I hope that helps you to understand kind of how that works. Separate property can also be things like inheritance. If you get a gift during the marriage, even if it's something you acquired during the marriage, if it's a gift, let's say from your parents, maybe your parents decide to gift you a savings account or gift you a motor home or something like that, and you never put your spouse's name on that piece of property or that money or that financial account, and it stays your presumptive separate property completely without any kind of contribution in the appreciation of value by your spouse, or in the preservation of the value of it by your spouse, then that could probably is going to be separate property that's not going to be divisible into divorce. But every case is pretty much fact specific and dependent upon the facts. So be sure you consult your lawyer when you get started with your divorce about these matters. Be sure and talk to him about the details of your case when you get started, because all of that's going to be very important in making determinations, the court's determinations of who gets what is equitably divided, and what is kept by each one of you after the divorce. So I hope this is helpful to you. Let us know if we can help you in any way. You can find us online at therushtonlawfirm.com. You can give us a call anytime or email. We'll be glad to answer questions for you and help you out with your divorce action. Thanks. Hope you have a great week, and thanks for taking time to watch.